So today I want to talk to you about space tourism. In the beginning, I want you guys to think about the tourism part. Depending on whether we think of it as a luxury destination and a hospitality industry, or whether it's an adventure travel, it really changes how we understand, communicate, and articulate it to people within and outside of this industry. But also, I don't want to talk about tourism today. I want to focus on the space part and really think about how we can come up with different experiences and focus on that from very different perspectives and angles. It's a very precious experience where every single second and moment of it is probably going to cost thousands of dollars, and it needs to be crafted, and it's going to have some sort of improvisation in it inherently. When I talk about space, I mean anything between 9 kilometers to 350 kilometers above Earth. The higher you go, obviously, your view of the Earth and your exposure to microgravity increases, and that changes when you think about designing that experience. You need to consider that. This is a typical flight by X-Course. Virgin Galactic is very similar. You take off horizontally, go to a quick ascent, you have 4 to 6 minutes of weightlessness, and then you glide back and land on the runway. It may take up to 2.5, 3 hours, the entire travel. But also, I think it's important to think about who are we designing this experience for? Who are these people? So far, we've had over 500 people, I think, sent to space, and these are primarily highly skilled individuals, cosmonauts and astronauts, who have done intensive trainings and medical examinations. After 2,000 regular citizens, and by that I mean very rich and lucky people, have spent over a week in the International Space Station. But these people also had to go through all of that training and medical examinations only to spend a week in space. This is changing, however, with Virgin Galactic and all of these young and famous celebrities signing up for a trip like that for $200,000. They're getting a lot of attention, and because of the kind of background they're coming from, their expectation from this industry as a service is going to raise the bar. It's going to change a lot of paradigms, for sure. And as the price drops to 5,000 K, we're also going to see more and more citizens experiencing weightlessness, even though it's only 10 seconds, but they come up with crazy ideas on a normal passenger aircraft that will go to 30,000 feet and will allow them to experience it. So this is just to show you, as the price obviously drops, the projected trend and the expectation is for over 1 million people per year to travel to space. This is important not just from an industry, business, and market perspective, but also thinking about population. We have to think about the diversity of people, backgrounds, physical conditions that they may come up. So with the parabolic flights, we've seen in the past few years people getting married in them, people doing artistic performances, really crazy projects that I encourage all of you to look it up online. But the extent of that imagination and what people can come up with, normal citizens can come up with, is really seen when you think about the projects that were launched by weather balloons. The top left picture is the first sextoy, which was just flown to the edge of the space, I think 2 weeks ago. The left at the bottom is a project by Toshiba in 2009 as a TV ad. But I think there is a huge disconnect between our imagination and how we think of space and our experience. Our experience is tightly close to what governments have made and the condition that they've made for the astronauts, which did a great job in making sure that most of them at least come back to Earth safely and they are supported for what they need to do. But so far, our experience is not very human-centered. This is a design thinking conference. I think all of us need to put our design thinking hat on and think about this opportunity in a very different way. This is a typical food packaging thing that astronauts even today are preparing and consuming food from. And this is the kind of environment that we've built for people who would spend up to 6 months in space. I mean, can you imagine Paris Hilton using a bathroom similar to that? So we need to think of this with a complete fresh perspective, and we can no longer afford only scientists and engineers thinking about all of these problems. We need people from very different disciplines to get on board looking at this. And we're starting from scratch. This is Spaceport America right now, an isolated structure in Mojave Desert, waiting for its future travelers and visitors to come and really define what that future might be like. And I think we need to use things like wearable technology and immersive technology to connect people who have the opportunity to travel to space for whatever X amount of dollars, or people who physically or financially can't afford to do it, to just have a hint of that experience. Designers like Nelly Ben Hayoun have designed products such as the Soyuz chair, where the user can just sit on an armchair and experience the high G forces that a cosmonaut may go through during a shuttle launch, as well as the sound and acoustic experiences that might go through. I also think we need to encapsulate and capture that 4 to 6 minutes to something that's beyond just a memory or a bunch of pictures. This is a project I did a few years ago at Royal College of Art, where I was thinking and working with fluids and creating really unique forms, solidifying them and bringing them back to Earth as a souvenir or as a collectible artifact. But beyond all of these projects, I think we need to put humans in the center of the problem. We need to go back to the foundations of what this environment, what kind of potentials it will introduce to our lives. We need to think about learning, growth, joy, happiness, all of those fundamental needs. And to do that, I think we need to start mapping all the different spectrums, the extremes of the spectrum, whether it's orbital flight, suborbital flight, look at it from both the context perspective as well as the customer perspective. And this is just a chart that I'm working on this new strategic project for one of the space tourism companies. And that was my talk.